All right, guys, we are live. This is Off the Edge. I'm Jake Ellenbogen. He is Cameron Lynch. And today we're going to be talking about NFL trades that GMs or a coach in the NFL right now is going to want to make or be a part of that can save their job. Before we get into that, be sure to go out. If you like what you see from us, you can follow us on all social media right below. At JK Bogan, at Cameron Lynch 50. It's so
That's
much
new.
easier.
Yeah.
Well, it's so much easier to just have that there. And as always, a special thanks to Bleacher Report for having us and, putting up with our shenanigans, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
So
Good shenanigans.
good shenanigans. So let's get into it, Cam. We're going to start from the top here, or rather the bottom, the 0-6 Panthers. Okay. Now, I'm not saying Frank Reich's going to get fired. That's not what I'm saying.
For this whole show, by the way, let's caveat that no one's going to get fired. We just know that their record, it says they're not doing well.
But I'm not saying that they're going to.
Right, because these guys have to feed their families, so we want to caveat that as well. We hope the best for these gentlemen, but if you don't do well at your job, you got to have something that's going to catapult you to the next level. So hopefully these guys can do that for them.
Yeah, and Cam, I look at Frank Reich here. I think he's in a pretty bad spot right now. They're 0-6. You could say what you will. Okay, rookie quarterback, young quarterback, dinking and dunking. I don't really think that's necessarily on him. I think they've really babied him in this offense. So I'm going to say, and I don't know if you'll agree, but I'm going to say they go out, they get a weapon. In my opinion, I think Bryce Young has what it takes to be a franchise quarterback in this league. It's going to take him some time. There needs to be some development there. So I like the idea of going out and getting Courtland Sutton from the Denver Broncos. He's available as pretty much everyone else is on Denver right now. And Sutton, the reason why I said Sutton and not Judy, first off, Judy scares me a little bit with a young quarterback. Me. I need the targets. I need this. I need that. I feel like Sutton's more professional right now. I feel like he's more mature. And I also think the thing about Sutton that Judy doesn't have is that Sutton has that catch radius that I think is great for a young player. When you're not really pinpoint accurate coming in the NFL, you're more generally accurate. And I think it works best for a guy like Bryce Young. But what say you, Mr. Amsterdamus Lynch?
Yeah, no, I like that Courtland Sutton. We talk about Jake. He's Russell Wilson's favorite target, right? At the end of the day. And so to have Russell Wilson's knowledge of the football game, Courtland Sutton receiving that as well, he's only going to share that with Bryce Young. So I agree with you on that, right? Having that veteran presence more so is going to help out. And I think with Bryce Young as well, we talk about Frank Reich, he has to overcome coaching. And a lot of times with that, you need veteran players. So thank God, Jake, Adam Thielen's out there getting things done, but Mingo and Chark aren't necessarily doing that. And so bringing in a veteran like Courtland Sutton, who's worked with other veterans as well, can support the Panthers push. Because I know at the beginning of the season, Jake, we talked about the Panthers. We were like, yeah, they could win the division. They're looking super spooky. And now it's the exact opposite. So to your point, Bryce Young can make every throw. I think he can. It's just a matter of fact of Frank Reich finally passing, the sticks or the play calling over to Thomas Brown. So we'll see how things go, but they need a splash. They need someone to not only, Jake, catch the football, but also put butts in seats. Because what I will say is owners do want to win football games, Jake, but they like their money, my man. They like their money. So they got to also do both in that sense.
No, I agree with you. Do you have anybody that you would want them to trade for?
Yes, Jake, I put in there Hollywood Brown, and I'm going to have Hollywood Brown actually on a couple of these. But, Hollywood Brown, we talked about his explosiveness. I know we're going to get to the Chargers a little bit later, but he might show up there as well. But I would love to see Hollywood Brown in a better situation. I know he's had an interesting career, right? He's been hopping around from team to team a little bit. But I do hope that he can find a home in the Panthers because they're rebuilding, Jake. He's a younger guy, but they're rebuilding. And so why not grow along with a guy like Bryce Young and figure out how to win some football games?
No, I totally agree with you. I think we have kind of the same thought process. I mean, you have to get to the point where now you can expect Bryce Young to go deep down the field a little bit more and not just throw the dink and dunk, short passing. And I think that that's a big thing here with both of ours is that Cortland Sutton, big bodied receiver. You talk about just the catch radius, if you will, with Marquise Brown. He's somebody that could, take the top off the defense. Adam Thielen's doing everything right now. He's trying to hold it all together. And while Jonathan Mingo is a fun prospect coming out of the draft that they did grab with this class, he's somebody that I think kind of shows the example of you can't overdo it. Just because a guy looks really good as a prospect does not mean he's going to come in and right away get just everything down. So I think that's what they're kind of going through. And DJ Chark's just had a hard time staying healthy at this point where, I don't know if, maybe he's kind of lost a step a little bit. But yeah, they need to go out and get somebody. I understand they have Terrace Marshall. He's looking for another spot. They did give him an opportunity to seek a trade. So that'll be interesting there.
Jake, I wanted to call out the Chargers. I know Eastgate here in the chat is jumping in with some great questions, talking about who the Chargers would trade for. So like I said, Hollywood Brown would be an upgrade for us since Mike is out. Yeah. And we'll get to the Chargers a little bit later, but I just want to call out Eastgate. Thanks for asking some of them questions. And yeah, Hollywood Brown would be great for that, but we'll talk about it later.
Yeah, and I also see, what about Eberflus in the comments section? Also, we're going to be getting to that very shortly here. And I also want to touch on this. Damian Davis 7. You have to make good trades to keep your job. Bad trades and sinking your team hurts your team.
Facts.
Agreed there. We're leaning more towards these being good trades. We're not just saying, hey, throw crap at the wall and see what sticks. No. We're trying to suggest some good trades for these teams.
Yeah, because no risk it, no biscuit, Jake. Because at the end of the day, you don't take your shot. You could be sitting back at home with us, Jake, right? Broadcasting some football games as a head coach, and they don't want that.
So the 1-6 Cardinals, interesting little thing here. They've looked competitive. But Jonathan Gannon, I think way too many of us are looking at this like, yeah, the Cardinals are going to be rational. They're going to keep Jonathan Gannon on. This is like whatever you can get done this year. Cool. You're not expected to win. I don't necessarily think that's the case, and here's why. You got guys like Lincoln Riley in college who NFL teams are going to reach out to. You have guys like Ben Johnson with the Lions right now who guys are going to reach out to. You got Michael LaFleur with the Rams. You got Raheem Morris with the Rams. You have all these different coaching options. You see what McDonald's doing over with, the Ravens defense. You see what Wake Martindale's doing with the Giants. I mean, there are definitely different coaching candidates.
Brian Flores. I mean, he beat the 49ers.
Yeah, he's doing a good job too. And so, I don't think it's a guarantee Jonathan Gannon sees next season. And we've seen that. This is the same organization that fired Steve Wilkes after one season. So I'm not about to just say right away that he has another season guaranteed. So I think they should go out. And right now, they need to fix the worst pass defense, in my opinion, worst pass defense in the league. You could absolutely slaughter this defense. And right now, I think you need to go out and get Kyer Elam from the Bills, a former first-round pick who the Bills simply don't have any use for right now. How much? So much so that someone in the comment section mentioned Josh Norman. I don't know if he was saying you look kind of like Josh Norman or what's going on here. It's definitely not me. I don't look anything like Josh Norman. But Josh Norman started for the Bills last night. That's where we're at. Josh Norman was out of football for 2 years? Yeah. And he's now starting for the Bills. So they really would rather have a guy come out of, come off the street than start their first round pick in Kyer Elam. That doesn't give me good vibes for Kyer Elam with the Bills. However, we can't just discount the player. He's a first-round talent for a reason, and I think a change of scenery, especially with the Cardinals, could help. And this would be them kind of like, all right, Gannon, if you could get this thing together, if Kyer Elam is able to ball out, you got Marco Wilson, you got Budda Baker coming back from IR, we know that. When you got Jalen Thompson, I mean, hey, maybe you make something happen, you can get a couple wins, and maybe you could just show like, hey, we have some fight. And I think, to be fair to Jonathan Gannon, they do have fight. Because they haven't laid down at all by any stretch. So I got to give them credit there. But what are your thoughts on the Cardinals?
Yes, I like that, Jake. And really quick before we go to the Cardinals, I saw in the chat, someone asked, Mike Banks asked about who the Carolina trade for. And so we talked about that top of the show. Cortland Sutton, who's Russell's favorite receiver and target, or Hollywood Brown was my suggestion there. So that was on the Panthers. Just for our chat, we want to make sure we engage with y'all and have a good conversation. Jake, but we're on the Cardinals here. You mentioned Kyra Elam. Jake, I have some big names here, just kind of throwing out the wall and kind of see what sticks at the cornerback position. But Patrick Surtain, right, from the Broncos, what does that look like? Do you go from the Broncos to the Cardinals? I don't know. I don't know if you want that, but to be honest, it's a trade that you don't really have a choice. Jalen Johnson from the Bears, right? The Bears are looking to give some stuff up. So what does that look like? And then Dante Jackson from the Panthers. I mean, all these teams, or most of these teams, are going to be trading. So if I'm the Cardinals, I don't know if you want to go worse to worse, but you got to go where things are available. And if I'm Jonathan Gannon, I'm getting anything that I can get. If I can get Patrick Surtain, right, a all-pro defensive back, hey, shoot your shot, because like you said, out of everyone on this list, Jake, that we talk about, I think Gannon might be on the hot seat more than anybody. So we'll see. When Kyler Murray gets back, Jake, we'll also see how things go for Gannon, but he's going to have to make some splash trades here in this deadline. Also, Jake, to give Kyler the football back, right? You want to get some guys on the defense that can give Kyler the football back so you can be more explosive and put butts in the seats at the end of the day and win some football games.
So my thing is, I had to like really stop myself, because I was like, man, what if the Patriots just threw caution in the wind and went after a guy like Kyler Murray? Like, what if they just like really just went and they're like, you know what, let's just go out, we'll get our guy. We think we have a good defense. We think we have a decent offense. Like, let's go out and get our guy. But I'm going to be more realistic here. I think a trade that could help Bill Belichick right now for the 2-5 Patriots, who needed that win like we need oxygen against the Bills. I think it's to go out and get Jerry Jeudy, who, by the way, Cleody Kaba in the, sorry if I butchered your name, in the chat, Jeudy rekindling with Mac Jones in New England? Question mark. So he beat me to it, but Jerry Jeudy, I like the fit there. First off, any of the lack of maturation, Bill Belichick knows how to deal with that. So I'm not worried about that.
Full stop. That part.
The second thing is they need explosives. Kendrick Bourne looks great. He's a great number 2 or number 3 receiver complementing. He can't be your number 1 guy. So right now, I think they need an explosive receiver. I think they're looking over at the Raiders and kicking themselves they ever let Jacoby Myers leave, because I think he'd be doing wonders with them. But you need an explosive player. And Mac Jones isn't somebody who's going deep down the field every pass like a Josh Allen or something. So if you can throw underneath and get Jerry Jeudy going in the passing game, I mean, we already know he's available. I mean, I think this makes sense if you're trying to stay afloat. If you're the Patriots and you're trying to tank or you're trying to sell, this doesn't make any sense. But based on if you're trying to save your job right now, Bill, because you are the GM, go out, get Jerry Jeudy, try to steal some of these games, and make Robert Kraft think, I don't know if I want to get rid of Bill quite yet. We still got some stuff left in the tank.
Yes, Jake, it's funny, when I was writing my notes for this show, I put like a little chili pepper right here by Bill Belichick, because right at the end of the day, it's like a Greg Popovich, right, leaving the Spurs. He got Wemby, he got a big splash player, so Pop is going to be there for a good amount of time because he had that big splash draft. And so for Bill Belichick, Jake, it would be sad to see him go, but like you mentioned, we're going to need someone to put butts in seats, right? And we think about this. Putting butts in seats also means you can get more Alabama fans, right? It's more of a business move as well, right? You talk about Jerry, our guy in the chat here, last name Kaba, talk about Jeudy rekindling with Mac Jones. For Mac Jones, we need his confidence to increase, Jake. We need to see the Mac Jones that we saw at Alabama. It's a little disappointing. I mean, I know he won a game recently, right? But it is a little disappointing to see some of these Alabama greats step into the NFL and not really show, what they can do. And so to see Jerry Jeudy rekindle with Mac Jones, and maybe both of them can revive what they're doing here in the NFL. And to be honest, when you mentioned the character piece and Bill Belichick, I thought that was spot on, Jake. And I don't have any other options, because this, I think, will be the best fit for him. Bill Belichick don't play games. And so when Jerry Jeudy was going back and forth with Steve Smith, that would not happen at a Patriots game, Jake. I mean, the Broncos game, cool, but Steve Smith, I think, would think twice about calling out Jerry Jeudy on the sideline like that if he knew that Bill Belichick was there watching him with those eyes with that daggone cutoff sweatshirt. So Jerry Jeudy, I think, will get protected at the Patriots, I think, a little bit. And I think they will be able to spark something between those Alabama players, because they need it.
They do need it, and I'm going to go to another 2-5 team who needs to turn this thing around, but also need a win like we need oxygen. Got one with Tyson Bagent or Bagent. I don't want the fan club coming after me for saying his name wrong, but Matt Eberflus is not at all safe. Okay, he is not at all safe as the head coach of this team, and I also think I want to kind of highlight this. I think there's a philosophy also, seeing Sean McVay, seeing Kyle Shanahan, seeing Mike McDaniel. I think defensive coaches, defensive minded head coaches are under siege right now. They're under fire. So I think being a struggling defensive minded coach means you're out. And
it's a scoring league. You got to score points at the end of the day in this league, because people want to see points scored. And real quick, Jake, just for people who don't really enjoy football like that, but they're like watching it casually, they want to see people score points at the end of the day. And if you're not scoring points and that person's kids not saying, hey, mom, I don't really watch football like that, but I want this person's jersey because I saw them score. As a defensive coach, if you're not promoting that on your football team, it doesn't make sense business-wise, Jake. So, yeah, sorry, back to you on that. But I just wanted to kind of tap into that business side of the situation.
Yeah, no, absolutely. So I look at, the Bears right now, and I look at the offensive side of the football, and we can, sit here and say they need to do this and this and this for their offensive line, but I don't think their offensive line is as bad as advertised. I think right now quarterbacks are holding on to the football because the only one who's open is DJ Moore. And when he's not open, it's going to be a Cole Kmet every now and then. And when he's not open, Darnell Mooney is doing nothing because he's been an absolute disappointment for this team. He has not done enough. And so it's gotten to the point where Darnell Mooney hasn't done anything. Teams are just going to double DJ Moore. If Cole Kmet doesn't open, there's no other outlet except for the running back. So I think they should go out and get an underrated, underappreciated, and definitely not being talked about receiver, Donovan Peoples-Jones. He was a 6th rounder out of Michigan. The Browns used him a lot last year. They're not using him at all this year. I think he needs a change of scenery. I think DPJ would be great for them. Think about it like this. It's like having Equinemius St. Brown with that size, but he's a better receiver, right? He has, a better route tree. And then on top of that, he has more speed and explosion. And I just think like Donovan Peoples-Jones gives you that big bodied receiver as well, that you can just go up and he can go and high point the football. Whether that's Bagent, whether that's Fields, this makes the Bears better. It's a low risk, high reward type of move. And I think that Donovan Peoples-Jones would definitely help the Bears out right now, because I just don't think Mooney's doing enough. I think it's all DJ Moore and Cole Kmet right now. And they're dealing with injuries in the running back room as well. So, I like DPJ to the Bears.
Yeah, I like that, Jake. You think about the Cleveland Browns, just like their history, right? When it comes to the Bears are going to need a receiver that's been through adversity, right? Been through struggle and knows how to fight through. The Browns are actually starting to figure it out, Jake. Even last year, this year, they're on an uptick, and the Bears need someone with that energy to say, hey, I know we haven't been doing well these past few years. I've been at the Browns. We've been doing the same thing. So let's figure out how to get this thing on the right path, Jake. Another person I want to add in, you mentioned him earlier for the Patriots, but Kendrick Bourne, right? He's the only one that's really making moves on the Patriots team. Well, hey, maybe bring a guy like that coming from the Patriot way, or that Bill Belichick mindset, and bringing them over to a struggling team like the Bears and say, hey, guys, these are some of the foundational things that we do at the Patriots. Maybe we can implement some of those things here at the Browns and figure out how to move things forward there. But, when it comes to the Bears, it is going to be tough for other receivers to go there, right? Some of these receivers that we're talking about, it's going to be a tough place to go, but the Bears need leaders at the end of the day. They need people that are going to be able to move things forward. And yeah, why not come from the Browns, who have been moving things along, or the Patriots as well? So the Bears need a lot of help though, Jay.
Yeah, I really like DPJ because he's a guy that had almost 900 yards last year receiving. He's gotten better each and every season. He's in an expiring deal, and right now the Browns have only thrown to him 8 times this year. He's caught 8 passes for 97 yards. So I like the fit there. Another one I like who's not being utilized, high draft pick as opposed to a low draft pick. Guy's a high draft pick. He's a first-round talent. Clyde Edwards-Helaire
Yeah.
from the Chiefs. I like him going to the Giants. The 2-5 Giants with Brian Dable, they have a lot of issues. But currently, Saquon Barkley is the only running back they can trust. Breida is averaging under 3 yards per carry, as is Brightwell out of Arizona. And so I think bringing in Clyde Edwards-Helaire, first off, gives him a change of scenery. Guy is just not being utilized with the Chiefs. He had so many injuries. And I think, unfortunately, to this point, it's the Isaiah Pacheco and Jerick McKinnon show. And with Clyde Edwards-Helaire in a contract season, I think he needs to get some tape out there. I think he needs to, build up his resume. So I do like the idea of the Giants, of course, if they're trying to, win some games. Now, if they're not trying to win some games, then don't make this trade. But Brian Dable is not a guarantee to come back next year. I'll just say that right now. So we'll see what ends up happening. But Saquon needs a good backup, but also a change of pace option. And I see what, Wink Martindale's doing on the defensive side. And I'm like, I don't know, man. That defense looks really good. They could be a problem down the stretch if they get their offense in order. And I think that starts with being able to run the football. And it starts with, hey, can we give Saquon a breather, or is he going to have to be in every single play? Because we saw what happened with the Rams with Kyron Williams. You don't have that backup running back. You don't have that guy that can come in, be that change of pace. It's going to be an issue. It's going to lead to injuries, and then you don't have him for the foreseeable future.
Same thing with the quarterback position, Jake, right? You got to have a great quarterback and a great backup quarterback and even another backup quarterback just in case, right? Make sure your punter can throw. No, but also the running back as well, right? You're going to have someone in there that can protect that quarterback in that nose protections, right? Because you talked about Kyron Williams, where you got Ronnie Rivers that was behind him. He got hurt. So who do you want to protect your franchise? So you got to make sure that both of those positions are covered and have depth. Jake, I like that Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He's the third back on that team. Another person who's a third back on their team right across the way is Dalvin Cook, right, for the Jets. So I know the Giants and the Jets, they share the same stadium. So it's like, hey, Dalvin, switch up the jersey, put on the Giants. You don't have to go too far. You don't have to move too far. That might make sense. I know Breece Hall and those guys are making things happen at the Jets. And so, hey, why not peel off of Dalvin Cook and kind of see what he can do there for the Giants in New Jersey, because it's not New York City. Essentially, the stadium is. But yeah. I think that'll be a really cool addition there, Jake. And then also for Dalvin Cook, I have him going somewhere else as well later down the line, a team that I used to play for, and he's from Florida, so I would like to see him in that area as well. But for now, the Giants could be another great option.
Yeah, I definitely like the Giants there. And then 2-4 Chargers. Look, I'm going to be honest with you. I think Brandon Staley's getting fired. I really do. I think just his in-game management just isn't good enough. And I really like him. I mean, guy led the Rams to the number one defense in the NFL in 2020. I think he might just be that. I think he might just be an elite defensive coordinator and might just not be a head coach, and that's okay. Unfortunately, it's not okay if you're a Chargers fan right now. You want to get the most out of your season. So I look at this 2-4 Chargers team. They need a win like crazy right now. I think if you're trying to turn this thing around, again, Brandon Staley likely to be fired. I think you got too much talent to be 2-4 right now, to not make the playoffs, but they did lose Mike Williams. Quentin Johnston seems like he's a year away, Cam. I don't necessarily think he's ready to just take on this big role. At least he doesn't look that way. So give me Curtis Samuel, with the Chargers. We talked about Hollywood Brown the last time, so I want to mix it up here. Give another name for Chargers fans out there, since they show out in our comments section. Shout out to them. Curtis Samuel from the Commanders is having a pretty solid year right now, and I think they need some explosives. I think when you look at just that weapon in the slot, he can be utilized all over the field. He can be utilized as a running back. I just think Curtis Samuel kind of gives him that oomph, if you will. Mm-hmm. And when I watch the Commanders, they got to get Jahan Dotson going, because, that's a guy that they drafted and they were really high on, and he's having kind of a down year. So maybe by moving Samuel, then you can actually, go ahead and give Dotson more looks. But I like this move for the Chargers. I think you have a receiver room with Curtis Samuel. You got, Josh Palmer, and one of the best to do it in the league right now, Keenan Allen. I think you're in a good, spot here. And it makes it easier, in my opinion, on Justin Herbert, because now, these guys have a chance to get open and create, more options for him instead of just one read.
I agree, Jake. Curtis Samuel, when it comes to just what he brings to the football game, I think that's important. He's a veteran in the game, and 2017 he got drafted second round, so he's going to be able to bring some things to that team. You talked about Johnston. He's not, like I said, he's not where he needs to be right now. And I know last time we hopped on this show, people were like, "Hey, we have enough receivers. We don't need any more receivers." Well, this show specifically saying, hey, who can help us save our coach's job? What does that look like? And with Mike Will being out, they need another threat. Keenan Allen is great. He's breaking tackles. He's doing his thing. We have guys stepping up, but we need another threat. You need someone who can step in and make things happen right away. And a lot of times, Jake, when it comes to trade deadlines, I saw someone here jump and say, we don't need older receivers. I think it's for the Bears. We don't need older receivers, no old lame receivers. Well, during the middle of the season, you need guys that can step in right away that know football, that know NFL football. These young cats, they can get traded cool, but they have to relearn the playbook. A lot of times when you've been around the block, concepts are the same. You got different coaching trees and different things like that. So for a coach or GM to save their job middle of the season, you need veteran players to step on this football team and to contribute right away. The young guys can be cool, but you need guys that can step in and make things happen. And I do think what we just mentioned, a guy like Curtis Samuel can step in and do that. So, hey, we'll see. The Broncos, Curtis Samuel can do that.
We know Hollywood Brown could do it as well. I see in the comments section, Eastgate, I'm with you. I actually like Hollywood Brown more than Curtis Samuel. I just wanted to give them another name to look out for that could be a potential. Because, I mean, the last trade that I was saying I wanted to see was, of course, Hollywood Brown and the Chargers. That was our Under the Radar episode. I think that was the last time.
Last week.
2-4 Packers. I don't think they're being talked about enough. Matt LaFleur is not safe. He's not. I don't care what anyone says. Matt LaFleur is not safe in Green Bay. Jordan Love needs a consistent route runner in the slot. He doesn't have that right now. I think there's a chance that they could go out and get a receiver, and that receiver, I think they should go out and get Hunter Renfrow from the Raiders. I think he'd be a great fit. I think Hunter Renfrow needs to get the hell out of Vegas and away from McDaniels ASAP. I mean, you see what he did before, and now you see what he's doing after, and it's like, man, that's not even the same player. I mean, this is somebody who's one of the better route runners in the league, in my opinion. It's just been kind of rough lately. He had 1,000 yards, 103 catch season in 2021. Insert McDaniels in 2022 and 2023. And he's had a total of just barely over 400 yards in back-to-back in those two seasons combined. Look, I'm not saying that Hunter Renfrow is going to come in and be like Jordy Nelson or Randall Cobb in their prime, but the Packers need somebody to, create some opportunities for Jordan Love, get those outlets going, because if he doesn't have Christian Watson deep down the field, or he doesn't have, a guy like Romeo Doubs able to get open, it's like at that point, he's either going to throw it to his tight end, or he's going to tuck and run it, or he's going to throw it away, or he's going to throw an interception and force it. So I think Renfrow gives him a better option. And as a first-year starter, I think this makes your team better. I think the defense has shown you some things that you have to like. Rashawn Gary, Preston Smith, who could also get traded. And they got guys like Jair Alexander. But I think the offense has some potential as well. We've seen it. Guy who's targeting more than anybody down the field, in my opinion, in Jordan Love. I think to get him to focus less down the field and more in the short and intermediate game with a Hunter Renfrow would balance out that offense and make them more sustainable to, be able to win those drives, go the distance, and, keep the defense on the field and your offense on it, create that momentum and win these games.
Yeah, Jake, it's funny. The chat's going kind of crazy. Let's say Werbert at the end, last name Werbert said, can Renfrow work with the Chargers offense? And so right now we're kind of talking about about wide receivers. And so we got Renfrow, we got Hollywood Brown and Curtis Samuels between the Packers and the Chargers. Jake, I do think you talked about Renfrow going to the Packers. He could go to the Chargers, right? And Samuel comes to the Packers, right? We talked about that veteran presence. Well, we do know that Love might need more of that veteran presence at the wide receiver position. That would be really cool. And then, Jake, I want to throw this out there. D-Hop. I know the Titans looking to sell. What does that look like? I think for LaFleur to figure things out after getting rid of our guy Aaron Rodgers, after trading away a lot of things for that Packers organization, to move things back to where they need to be. D-Hop could be really cool. I know with Devontae, he left there. So, hey, let's bring another guy, a big name receiver into the mix. D-Hop, I would love to see it, Jake. I know when he went from Houston to the Titans, the Cardinals, things have been a little muddled. So let's figure out how to get things back on track here with the Packers, because they're struggling right now, Jake. At the beginning of the season, we were like, ooh, right, Love's not throwing any interceptions. He's doing really good. And now we're starting to see the true, makeup of this football team, and they need a splash. They need someone who can put butts in seats, but then also win some football games. And D-Hop might be it.
I mean, it's funny because, like, if the Raiders needed a receiver, if they weren't trying to trade one away actively, although I think they're really just trying to trade one away because he doesn't want to be there. So if they do need a receiver, imagine DeAndre Hopkins with Devontae Adams and Jacoby Myers. Like, that'd be some fireworks there, my guy. Like, that's a lot of talent. I don't know if you can make it work. I haven't checked the books or anything, but yeah, just something that's interesting. So speaking of the Raiders, I do have them. I mean, Josh McDaniels is getting fired. You can't have that many guys speak out about a head coach and have that not happen.
Warren Sapp went on the Rich Eisen show and was like, yeah, he's not a head coach. I was like, Warren, please, like, contain yourself a little bit. But at the end of the day,
Warren's never contained himself in his life.
Yeah, you're right.
Oh, man. Although he had some good things to say about Aaron Donald coming out of Pitt. But Josh McDaniels, okay, if he's going to keep his job, the Raiders need a guard. Okay, the Raiders desperately need guard help. Greg Van Roten's not it. Ezra Cleveland might be available with the Vikings. I mean, it sounds like the Vikings might trade Ezra Cleveland despite the fact they beat the 49ers. And this isn't even really to sell. This is the fact that they found their guy right now who they really like in Dalton Reisner. And I really like him too. I interviewed him. Good dude. But Ezra Cleveland, expiring contract, trying to keep your quarterback upright, whether that's Jimmy Garoppolo, whether that's Brian Hoyer, or it's our guy Aiden O'Connell. I think Cleveland helps you in pass pro. He's made strides in the run game. He's been banged up a little bit. So I think, he'll be coming back soon. And I think this is the best way right now, because I don't think the Raiders, I got to be honest, I don't think the Raiders have a bad roster. I think they have a bad head coach. Mm-hmm. So, I think it kind of goes out the window really of how you can even improve this team, how you could save his job when he is the problem. But let's just for a second pretend he's not the problem and we're trying to save his job. Ezra Cleveland makes the most sense at guard.
Yeah, well, you want to protect your investments, right? Jimmy G is now at the Raiders. You got talk about Aiden O'Connell. I saw someone jump in here and say that we need a new backup because Hoyer sucks. Well, hey, Aiden is that guy, Jake. I think if we develop him properly, I think he will turn out just fine. And to develop people like that, you need a line to block for him, and also you need receivers to throw to. So let's figure out how to do that, right? Because we just talked about Josh McDaniels may not be there for too much longer. Someone said trade Josh McDaniels to the Patriots. Yeah, I have a feeling something like that's going to happen, Jake. Just everything that happened with Chandler Jones. I think after that, and not seeing Josh Jacobs run the football well, I'm like, okay, Josh Jacobs is a beast. He's not running the football well. I think it has to be mental. It has to be something that's neck up and something's going around in that locker room. So I don't know how much longer he will be there for, Jake. But you're right with that, with the offensive line pick. Let's figure out how to keep our guys standing upright. That's really important. And yeah, full stop. Protect your guys, protect your assets, and move on. But Jake, I know we're kind of coming up on time here, so I don't know if you kind of want to run through some of these. We got a couple more left, but yes, for the Raiders, Josh McDaniels, we'll see what happens with him, but then beef up that offensive line and protect your assets. That's really important.
Yeah, I got four more here. Ben Powers from the Broncos. First off, fire sale. We already know that's happening. We've already seen it a little bit. But the 3 and 4 Saints, Dennis Allen. I like Dennis Allen. I'll pound the table for Dennis Allen, but like I said, Cam, this is a offensive-minded coach league right now. People are seeing what McVay, Shanahan, McDaniel, even Zach Taylor, did in his second season. And so they want a piece of that. Okay. And a lot of these owners are seeing it. Hey, why aren't we winning Super Bowls? And then they look, they're like, oh, it's offensive coaches. That's not always the case. But you know how quickly people are to make decisions and not always the proper ones. So the Saints, I could see putting, Dennis Allen on the hot seat, not saying they've told him he's going to get fired. But the 3-4 Saints, they're in a division where we talk about all the time. It's a dogfight, but it's kind of like a battle of the mid. If you want, and it's not and hear me out when I say that. It's like, I don't mean mid as in bad. I mean middling. Like, these are middling teams that have a chance to make the playoffs because they play in one of the worst divisions in the sport.
Yeah.
And so that's just the reality of it.
Yeah. So it's a wild card group here. It's a wily bunch. And it's, Jake, since I've been playing with NFC South, it's been that way. So
yeah,
no offense taken.
Yeah, no, it's just, I don't know. It's
until Tom Brady got there. Sorry.
The battle of mid,
Yeah.
So anyway, the Saints right now, a lot of injuries. Ryan Ramczyk, Landon Young, James Hurst, Trey Turner.
Mm-hmm.
They need some help. They got some guys, Cesar Ruiz. They have guys like that, Trevor Penning, who they a former draft pick. And I do like, for the most part, who they have on their offensive line. I think they need another guy. I think Ben Powers from the Broncos makes a lot of sense. Can just be right in there, solidify their offensive line. They need to keep Carr protected. He's already been hurt this year. Yeah. We talked about the sprained AC joint. So I like the idea of them going out, getting some help in the trenches, because there's not anything you could really do to that defense. It looks really good. I mean, and that's Dennis Allen. Dennis Allen has, he's really turned that defense into a powerhouse, and they have weapons. So I keep seeing like Hunter Renfrow, and I'm like, I don't really get it. I mean, I think people are just sleeping on Rashid Shaheed because they got Chris Olave and they got Michael Thomas, right? Maybe a tight end, but I don't know. I like what I see with the Saints. I think they just need to add some help in the trenches.
I agree. I mean, don't forget you got Alvin Kamara back there who scored 5 touchdowns last season. Not that we're going to be resting on our laurels, but he is one of the best backs in the league. I know he's fallen off a little bit, but he's one of the most dynamic backs in the league, right? Christian McCaffrey, when those two were playing football, they were both lining up in the slot and in the backfield and giving people problems. So let's not forget about Alvin Kamara. So yeah, as somebody on the line of scrimmage that can open those holes up for him, that's number one. Number two, like you said, make sure that Jameis and Carr can stay healthy and upright, right? Taysom Hill can step back there and play quarterback sometimes as well. So yeah, let's get some guys that can block for him. But they have many weapons, Jake, like you mentioned. They have many weapons. Taysom Hill is one of the most impressive weapons in the NFL. So let's get guys that can block for him.
No, I agree. And then another one, speaking of blocking for him, let's get, for the love of God, let's get Sam Howell some help in Washington. You could make the argument, though, this trade here would not only save Ron Rivera's job if it worked out, but it's good for the long term as well. This isn't just a plug and play guy, in just a veteran like Lloyd Cushenberry III, who I interviewed at LSU coming out. He's really, really turned his career around. He's really turned himself into a really good center. Also with the Broncos, again, fire sale. Nick Gates is not it right now for the Commanders. He is not it at center. They need a center. Sam Howell's been sacked 40 times. I believe Nick Gates has given up more sacks than anybody on that offensive line. It's 12 more than anybody else in the league at quarterback, by the way. So, yes, Howell needs to stop holding on the football so long. A lot of that is on him, but it's still also the pressure. So I think you get Cushenberry, who's really started to blossom as a starting caliber center, and you get him some protection right away. And I think it helps just everything on your offense. It helps your run game, helps your pass protection, even helps your quarterback, of course, who can now throw the ball and take a little bit longer than he's used to. So, yeah, I want to see them do something like that. But I understand right now the Commanders are kind of deemed sellers. They're, interested in trading away Montez Sweat. They actually have an offer from an unknown team for Montez Sweat, and they are interested in trading away Chase Young. So that's how I have it. If they decide to do something, go out and get Lloyd Cushenberry.
Yeah. Rams getting Montez Sweat or Chase Young. we need an edge rusher. No, not even that, Jake. We were talking about this just now, talking about protecting Sam Howell, him having the most QB hits in the league. That's unacceptable. Number one, full stop. Number two, I had to look up just now. Hey, Washington football team's backup quarterback, right? Jacoby Brissett. Like when you get into your quarterback getting hit a lot, it's like, all right, let's start looking, seeing, do we have enough quarterbacks on this roster? Because look, we discussed this with the Rams last year. It got brutal. I mean, we ended up playing with our third string quarterback and it wasn't great. And so when your quarterback gets smoked like that, Jake, each game, concussions, injuries, all that increases. So gets people to protect them. At the end of the day, I think these past three teams, we talked about protection and these quarterbacks. So let's get that in there. And then think about the Commanders. They're going to get a lot of draft capital, I believe, Jake, just from who they need to trade and what that looks like. And so do you figure out a quarterback from next year's draft, right, to kind of back up and step in and see what that looks like? I'm not sure, but the Washington football team they're going to be at the table. They're going to be trading. They're going to be accepting, and they need to make some moves for sure.
No, I absolutely agree with you. I see in the comments section, hear me out. The Falcons trade for Justin Fields and get their quarterback, and the Bears commence the tank for Caleb Williams and Marvin Harrison Jr. That's an interesting one. They got 2 draft picks. I mean, I don't know. I personally think Justin Fields is the modern day Michael Vick. But he has a chance to be better because I think he was starting to really look solid as a passer before he got hurt, which was the bummer. Yeah, I don't know. I really don't know. That is a fascinating little bit.
Him and Bijan in the backfield. I mean, 2 running threats. That'll be kind of fire.
Yeah, and I mean, I like Ritter. I want him to develop, but right now Ritter just feels like you're winning like despite him and not because of him. And I think Fields can kind of change that narrative where you could win because of him. And I think that's really the difference there, is that if you're really if we're constantly saying it, yeah, I like him. Like it's training wheels, man. He's in, you ever see, what was it, Spider-Man Homecoming, the training wheels protocol? I mean, Desmond Ritter's on training wheels protocol right now. From us, from the coaching staff, from the players. I mean, I want him to succeed, but we're constantly having to beat around the bush a little bit. Oh yeah, rooting for him. But if he's not it, he's not it. And so, yeah, I think if the Falcons could trade, if they could call up Ryan Poles with the Bears and just be like, hey, it's Justin Fields. What's his availability? And, they're like, yeah, he's available for this, and this. It's like, Atlanta has to have that internal discussion, whether or not that's worth it.
And they're 4-3, Jake. So at the end of the day, like you said, it's like if he's winning football games,
but at the same time, I think you have to figure out where are you, what kind of 4-3 team are you, and does it make sense to make this trade now, or would you just rather wait until next year? Because if you think you can make a legit playoff run, and you think Justin Fields has a top 5 offensive line with the Falcons, he's got weapons, all of that, then maybe you go ahead and you make that trade. Maybe you're like, Justin Fields can lead us to the promised land this year when he comes back from the injury.
Hey, but no risk it, no biscuit.
If you don't feel that and you're like, we like Justin Fields, we want to bring him in, but we don't feel like we're going to be a Super Bowl contender or anything like that, then maybe just wait until next year, make that trade in the offseason.
I agree. I would love to see it, Jake. I would love to see it because Justin Fields deserves better. He deserves better. And, to be honest, I know we're chatting through this, but these teams that are suffering right now and the players that are suffering on these teams, I'm praying for them, Jake, because this can determine their future, what that looks like. And so I know we're talking about these guys and coaches, hey, they're going to get fired, this and that, but just know we're leading with grace. At the end of the day, we're talking football because they have families and what that looks like. But also, this is a business, this is a job, and you got to perform. So I just wanted to recaveat that, Jake.
No, absolutely. And I agree with you. And I think these next 2 are pretty big names. I think people will know. Maybe the second one people won't know as much, although we've talked about him before. We've definitely talked about the first one.
Yeah.
He's the cover guy. In case you haven't seen the thumbnail, it's Derrick Henry to the Buccaneers.
Yeah.
The 3 and 4 Bucs just lost last night. And I think we learned a lot about the Buccaneers in that loss. We learned that they can hang around with the best of them.
Yeah.
Right. Because they were in that game. Let's just be honest. They were. But they lost last night because they didn't feel like they could run the ball.
Yeah.
They moved away from Rachaad White. Even when he's running well, they don't trust him. Rachaad White, what we found out, which has been pretty obvious, we've talked about, he's a pass catching back. He's a really good pass catching back. He's not a legit bell cow. He's somebody that could be change of pace. He's somebody that could be kind of Alvin Kamara light, but they need a guy to be a bell cow right here, right now. And that is Derrick Henry. Okay. Derrick Henry can be that guy. He can take on the brunt of the workload. I started to kind of wonder if Derrick Henry was still there. And then the London game against, I forget who it was. He looked really good. He looked really good. He's still there. He's still alive and well. And I think right now the Titans are trying to enter this new era of just this new Titans football where we're getting rid of Kevin Byard and we're going to get rid of Ryan Tannehill. Ryan Tannehill's inactive this week because of an injury. So Will Levis is going to start. So it's a whole new era with the Titans right now.
Yeah.
And, I think because of that, I think they're going to push to move Henry. And I keep hearing about the Cowboys, and I'm like, man, you guys got Tony Pollard. You look at the Buccaneers, they don't really have anyone. Like, and you and I like Sean Tucker, but like he's a rookie. Like it's going to take him some time. Undrafted rookie, went through the draft process, got banged up. Like, the fact that he's even on the team is kind of a miracle in itself, considering he missed almost all of the workouts and everything and all of the preparation. It's a testament to hard work. But Derrick Henry, Rachaad White would be a really nice combination. Would help out Baker Mayfield, who's been having to kind of put the team on his back at times. And I think, last night we kind of saw it. You start getting Trey Palmer involved. You start getting these other receivers involved. It wasn't just the Mike Evans show. And you're like, this team actually has a shot. They just need one more piece, I think, on the offense. And I think that it comes down to Derrick Henry. They can run the ball, but they need to get somebody who, when, a Rachaad White gets 3.7 yards per carry or something, Derrick Henry can get 5 with this offensive line. Yeah.
From my experience playing with the Buccaneers, that fan base, that stadium loves a good run game. Another person who likes a good run game is Chris Godwin and Mike Evans, because that means they get more opportunities. They get separation because these DBs are tired, right? I watched the game last night. Mike Evans, second half, didn't have any catches. He had that touchdown that got the game a little bit closer, but I'm sure people were like, hey, Mike Evans is a little quiet. Mike was like, hey, I haven't caught a ball. Throw me the football, dang it, right? So I can score some touchdowns. But to keep Mike Evans there on that football team, Jake, they're going to have to get a splash player. They're going to have to figure it out because it's not looking good when it comes to Mike Evans. Mike Evans, Jake, might end up on one of these teams that we're talking about and get that bag. And also, I would say, Jake, Mike is looking probably to retire, right? So maybe he wants to get another team that's going to go to the Super Bowl so he can retire. He's been playing the league for a long time, battles injuries left and right. So figure out a place for him to land. He would like to stay with the Buccaneers, but that's only if they get people there that can make sure his life is a lot easier. Derrick Henry will make his life a lot easier. They'll get more butts in the seats as well if he goes there. It'll be a great move, Jake. And also from my experience playing there, that offensive line loves the run game. They love the run game, right? Ryan Jensen, Tristan Wirfs, they love the run game. So imagine blocking for a guy like Tom Brady the previous couple of years and then blocking for a guy like Derrick Henry. That's the biggest compliment that the Buccaneers can give to their offensive line. So let's get it done, Jake. Let's get it done. And also Dalvin Cook. I talked about this top of the show, but Dalvin Cook as well, right? He's from Florida. Bring him back to his hometown. His whole family can show up to the games. It'll be awesome. But Dalvin Cook going to the Buccaneers could be a great option as well.
Yeah, I think they definitely need a running back. I didn't really see. That's the weird thing. I just don't see too many needs the Buccaneers have right now. I don't think are they better than 3 and 4? I don't know. I think that's what they are. But you get a guy like Derrick Henry, you commit to the run a little bit more, and maybe you're not in these type of games where you have to throw to stay in it and whatnot. So I do agree with that. And that's Todd Bowles. So I don't know if he's going to get fired or not, but we'll see. I like him, but I wouldn't be surprised if the Buccaneers moved on from him after the season. They better make the playoffs. I can tell you that much. He'd be in some trouble there. Last but not least, the 3 and 4 Vikings, who went from sellers to buyers seemingly overnight. That's what happens when you beat the 49ers. And, it doesn't matter how you start, it's how you finish. And right now, the Vikings lately, they've been finishing games and They're now 3-4. They're 7th seed in the NFC currently. They're tied with a bunch of teams, the Rams, I believe also the Buccaneers after the loss. So look, Kevin O'Connell, I would say, is on the hot seat. I would say that. I just think the demand for winning right now in Minnesota is so high.
Yeah.
They put a lot of money into some of these guys, and Kirk Cousins might leave. So it's like, I don't know what's going to happen here. What I'll say is, I think they need a pass rusher opposite Danielle Hunter. They lost Marcus Davenport. He went on the IR. I don't know if he's going to return. After that, DJ Wonham is their best pass rusher. So they need a guy. So insert Carl Lawson, who really is just in the way with the Jets. Good player. I don't think he's lost a step. I've been told he's very healthy. But it just comes down to the fact you draft 15th overall, our guy Will McDonald IV out of Iowa State. And it's like, there's a veteran just in the way, you know what I mean? And so it's not like Lawson's really getting a ton of playing time either. So it makes a lot of sense for the Jets to move on. I like the fit here for the Vikings. You go out, you get somebody that can just rush the passer immediately, can help you in the run game as well. A veteran, an expiring deal, so you don't feel like you're tied to him long-term. Very cheap deal as well. The elevated cap hit goes right to the Jets, so you don't pick that up. The Jets do. And so I see Carl Lawson, and I also see even an Emmanuel Ogbah, who's kind of behind a lot of guys in Miami, as an option. But I think they need to go out and get a pass rusher opposite Danielle Hunter, make his job a little bit easier, but also just get to the quarterback. Like, you can't just be all on Hunter at this point.
Yeah, I agree, Jake. And then I was thinking too, maybe, we talked about him a little bit earlier, but Chase Young and Montez Sweat, right? They're on the trading block. I know they have the same representation, so maybe that can be an opportunity as well for those guys to go there. But the Vikings, with Brian Flores, him always blitzing, having someone to help amplify that could be some good football, right? Because you want your quarterback who's been throwing the football really well. I know turning the ball over a little bit, but you want to get the quarterback the football back, right? You want to get Jefferson when he's back healthy. When that happens, we're not sure, but to score some touchdowns. So
yeah,
let's get some guys on the defensive side to force that situation. And yeah, the Vikings are winning football games. That's what we want to see, because Jake, their numbers at the beginning were so well. We were like, wow, Kirk Cousins, like, he's throwing that freaking football, but they're not winning football games. And so let's get some people on the other side that can help get that done.
It's bizarre. They're 2-0 without Justin Jefferson.
Wow.
I don't think it has anything to do with Justin Jefferson. It's just funny how that works.
Yeah.
It's like, well, I think sometimes you face adversity and it makes you better or makes you worse. And I think the Vikings, it's made them better. I think they have just kind of gone up. They're fine being the David versus the Goliath.
Yeah.
And then they'll just, flip the script. And that's what they did against the 49ers. They looked like the Goliath.
That was awesome. That was good to see.
To watch.
Brock Purdy has to figure it out. Has to figure it out. But man, Jake, this has been cool. I know we've been talking about the deadline these past couple of weeks, so I'm looking forward to soon talking about the playoffs. Man, I know it's going to be here sooner than we know it. I mean, we're going to week 8, Jake, and we're halfway through pretty much. So, man, this has been really cool so far.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Bleacher Report. Big thanks to you guys in the comments section. You guys, drive this thing. And without you, there is no Off the Edge. There's no Jake Ellenbogen and Cameron Lynch, because the audience matters. So thank you guys so much. If you want to follow us, you can follow us on the BR app. And you can also follow us at JK Bogan, at Cameron Lynch 50 on all socials. You can follow our show at Off the Edge Show. And we'll be back soon. You guys take care, and we'll see you guys later.